Hello everyone, we have an interesting message in from Creative Assembly, and I thought I'd share my thoughts on the statement with you all. It starts off with an apology. Dear Total War fans, I'm Roger Cullum, Vice President at Creative Assembly and writing on behalf of our Total War leadership team. It has been a difficult few months and we recognise that we have made mistakes when it comes to our relationship with you all. It's been a constant conversation internally on how we can get back to solid ground. What's clear is that it won't be easy and it will take time and effort. We see the confusion, the frustration and the distrust of us across the community, and honestly it breaks our hearts. We make games to bring you joy, to inspire a love of history, of fantasy and strategy games. Total War is our everything. We care about it as deeply as you. Recently it's clear that we have failed to demonstrate that in our actions. We are sorry. We cannot fix our issues overnight, but we will look towards a more transparent and consistent relationship with you all. Total War is a big and complex ship to steer, built on decades of knowledge, passion and technology. The slow and steady pace we've taken up till now has benefited us in the past. But today we see the need to react faster to help address the challenges that are ahead of us. So let's talk about those challenges and what you can expect from both Total War Warhammer and Total War Pharaoh going forward. Now, I'm really glad they're apologising, because they absolutely should. What on earth possessed them to market Shadows of Change at $25 is beyond me. It was garbage. A third of the units didn't work, it was riddled with bugs, it was terrible value for the community. The slow and steady pace of updates has been terrible for Warhammer 3, and it has not benefited the people playing the game at all. Again, I'm also happy for them to apologise for Pharaoh. It's just not what the community has been asking for, and I really don't understand why they went ahead with it. I think I saw the other day that there was just maybe 200 or 300 people playing that game. Unbelievably low numbers for a game in this franchise. There was simply no interest, and it was seen as a soulless game, lazily implemented, and the community didn't buy it. And rightly so. I haven't touched Pharaoh once since after doing my review on it, and I likely won't be again. It was just a terribly mediocre game with a terrible pricing structure. Just really below par. Right, so the apologies have been done. I'm happy that they stepped up and apologised. I suppose they didn't have to do that, but I think we all knew that the writing was on the wall if they didn't. I've never seen the community this disgruntled before, and I was around for the launch of Rome 2. Okay, let's get on to Warhammer 3 then. We have listened to your feedback on Shadows of Change, and we know that we failed to meet your expectations of what a DLC should be. To address that, we are enhancing our offer for everyone who has purchased Shadows of Change with more content and a commitment to ensuring that we better meet your expectations going forward. We're targeting a major update to Shadows of Change, which will arrive free for everyone who owns it. We have the goal of releasing this update in February 2024, at which point it will become part of the package for everyone who buys it in the future. That launch date is our ambition, but this isn't concrete. It may move, and as soon as those plans are finalised, we'll let you know and we'll keep you in the know as we get closer to its release. When we return in the new year, you'll hear directly from game director Richard Aldridge and the Warhammer 3 team, who will start to talk to you about the expansion of Shadows of Change and what that will look like. Shadows of Change absolutely failed to live up to expectations. It was pure robbery. It sucked. I'm really glad that they're going to revisit it. I appreciate that they can't go back and change the past, but who approved this for launch? It was launched in a terribly buggy state, a wildly high price tag. It was just awful. So I'm glad they're revisiting it, and I hope that the update is huge, because Shadows of Change, frankly, in my mind, was an insult to the community, and the horrible statement from Rob Bartholomew afterwards was an absolute shambles as well. So this is a well-deserved apology, and I think irreparable damage has been done because of their handling of the situation and, the aftermath afterwards. It was a terrible DLC, and maybe they can salvage it with this update. We'll just have to wait and see. Making this right is important to us, and to do this properly, Thrones of Decay will move out of its intended release window of winter 2023. We're looking to launch this DLC in April of 2024. We also have more work to do on Thrones of Decay to make sure that we don't repeat our past mistakes. and to give you the amount of content that you're rightly expecting from us at these price points. Once we've launched our free update to Shadows of Change, we'll talk more about what this next DLC will offer and how it will add to your experiences of Warhammer 3. We'll make sure that you know exactly what's coming in Thrones of Decay before pre-orders are available, and make sure that you have full transparency around the content before you see Buy Now buttons. After Thrones of Decay releases, we'll reveal what the next series of content for Warhammer 3 looks like. Our work on this beloved series isn't finished yet. Okay, so it's confirmed. Thrones of Decay has been delayed until April of 2024. The whole Thrones of Delay meme was correct. But really, I'm happy that they're delaying it. If Thrones of Decay was a disaster, I can honestly imagine it being curtains for Warhammer 3, which would be really sad. Interestingly, they've addressed the rampant pre-order marketing which occurred for Shadows of Change, which I really didn't expect. It was very annoying, having it thrown in your face constantly, but I didn't think it was really worth addressing, to be honest with you. But this goes to show that everyone needs to keep calling this kind of bullshit out. Don't pre-order anything, and wait for reviews. It's as simple as that. Don't get caught up in all the marketing nonsense. Just sit tight and wait for a review from a trusted source. Due to embargo restrictions currently, partnered content creators can only drop an actual review of a CA product a day before it's due to release. So just sit tight for that day. Don't pre-order anything, ever. It's literally the worst way to go about purchasing anything. It's a digital item. They have unlimited stock of it. Don't pre-order it. If you want, wait until the review the day before, then pre-order it if there's, bonuses to get or something like that. But yeah, pre-ordering is bad. Don't do it. Now, this next little section is about the hotfixes. Since 4.0 went live, we've changed up how we approach making updates to the game, releasing 10 hotfixes as well as patch 4.1, all targeting issues that we've seen emerging after subsequent updates, as well as introducing new features like skill point resets that help balance and improve the core experience of playing the game. It's an increase in the number of game updates that we'd usually release, and we want to keep this cadence of releases going forward. We can't commit to a fixed number of updates each month, as we'll ultimately release these based on the content that we're building and the issues we see raising that need our attention. However, over these last few months, we've released a game update roughly every 2 weeks, and where we can, we'll be sticking to that through 2024. Yeah, okay, so the hotfix frequency has been nice. They've made steps in the right direction, but really they need to go further. Sieges are still pretty horrible to play, and they're a core part of the gameplay loop of Total War. So I'm still hoping that in the not-so-distant future, a full Siege rework is coming, because the Sieges are still very bad and very boring. They're better now that towers don't constantly regenerate, but they really need to fix the maps. The AI is broken and brain-dead on them. The maps are boring and the streets are too narrow. It turns into a clusterfuck every time. Just very, very unfun to play. Hotfixes and patches are appreciated, and I don't want to detract from that. The work the team has put in has been really good. Patch 4.1 feels really good to play, but there's so much to be done, and they shouldn't really be patting themselves on the back too much for fundamentally releasing a broken game on launch and patching it 2 years later. And now we're on to the Pharaoh part of it. We want to make you aware of a decision that we've made internally surrounding the game, and what to expect with the DLC that we've been working on. There's some important information here that affects all owners of the game, so please read through this part carefully. In the next few days, all current owners of Total War Pharaoh will see that Steam has processed a partial refund to you, and that some funds have been added to your Steam wallet. This is happening because we have lowered the price of the game to a new recommended retail price of €39, $39, £29, etc. We don't think it's fair that our fans who put their trust in us on Pharaoh should in any way feel disadvantaged for buying the game at the previous price. We've also removed the higher priced editions of the game, the Deluxe Edition and the Dynasty Edition. There's now only one edition of the game available for purchase. Our next update, and what was originally our first paid DLC, will release in early 2024 as a free update for everyone who owns the game. We'll have plenty to show to you about this new free addition to Pharaoh in the new year. We have now begun the process of reassessing what comes next for Pharaoh, and while we don't have all the answers today, we want to make it clear to you that we're not closing the door on other, more ambitious updates to the game in future. We've still got big plans, but we want to be honest with you in saying that we need to spend more time with them before putting them out on show. Okay, so this may seem as a nice gesture. They're giving partial refunds for Pharaoh and making the first, what was meant to be paid DLC, free LC. Now, they wouldn't be in this mess if they didn't have such a terrible pricing offering to begin with. Buy the Dynasty Edition and get the next 4 DLCs free. They were planning 4 DLCs for this title. This is Creative Assembly trying to shirk that responsibility. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad they are shirking that responsibility. It'll free up resources for games actually wanted by the community. But this refund and the next DLC being free as an update thing is purely so they can put Pharaoh out to pasture and not do the 4 DLCs that they promised to the 7 or so people who purchased the Dynasty Edition. They're not doing this out of the kindness of their hearts. This is so they don't have to lose money on making DLC for their ridiculous Day 1 DLC promises that they made with their ridiculous pricing structures. I really hope that they learn that lesson. Just make the game good. Stop trying to think about future revenue streams before the game has even released. Just make the game good and DLC can follow if the game is successful. This isn't rocket science. Your customers aren't stupid and they're not falling for these shady marketing tactics anymore. This is a future of Total War Pharaoh statement. Make no mistake about it. I imagine they'll do this DLC coming up, maybe a bit of patching to support it, then they'll go and quietly kill the title. I can't see them supporting this, and truth be told, I don't want them to. Pharaoh should have a big "Do Not Resuscitate" sign on it. The game is dead, and there's barely anyone playing. Time to move on to the next title and make that one good. Then the next part is just more apologising and some vague thing about getting the community more involved in feedback, which is weird because we've all been screaming at them for a while now. So this tell me more thing I'm certainly not buying. I'm not going to read through all of it, but you can if you want. I'll leave a link to that in the description. Overall, yeah, I'm glad that they apologised, and hopefully they can try and reset the relationship with their customers. Pity 2023 was such a disastrous year for CA. Let's see if they can make Shadows of Change any better, as I will certainly be covering the updates and whether they make it suck less, and whether they make it worth purchasing. I'm not holding my breath, but maybe they've seen the light. Maybe they've had a come-to-Jesus moment. You never know. Maybe Shadows of Change will become the best goddamn DLC CA has ever made. Only time will tell. Pharaoh is a dead game, and to be honest, I think they should allocate their resources elsewhere. Nobody is playing the game, and I don't think any amount of patches or DLC will reverse that. The refund is nice, but don't be fooled. This is a company trying to wriggle free from their DLC commitments to a game that nobody is playing. I'm glad they did it, it's the right thing to do, but this is more likely that they don't get sued for not delivering 4 DLCs for the Dynasty Edition, rather than them being a wholesome and nice company. Anyway, I've been Blake, delivering my take. Thank you all so much for watching.